Hasn't popped up on the stream yet. Oh, technical things.
Ooh, maybe that's the cord that Evan cut. It's
The
just
Twitch cord.
Yeah,
All right, well, here we go. We're good.
excellent.
Wait, is this streaming in 1080? Damn it! Why isn't it streaming in 720? That's what I have it set for.
You can take a second to fix your technical difficulties.
Well, I don't know how I would fix it. I have it set for 720.
Oh, gotcha. And it's just like, fuck you.
It's like whatever, the bit rate is lower, so it's fine. Hopefully, I won't get too hammer slash. But enough of that nonsense. It's time to party.
Indeed, it is.
So, for this week, talking about two things. The movie Minority Report, which one of my favorite movies that I introduced to Robert for this stream. And
Yes.
then the idea of fun in a video game. So we'll start with the movie, and I will be enjoying a nice Flying Cauldron butterscotch beer. And they are not sponsoring.
Sounds delicious.
It is delicious. If Virgil Soda sees this podcast, send me more stuff. We'll drink it. Send Robert some too. We'll drink it on camera.
We would love to be sponsored by you.
Ah. But anyway, so Robert, what did you think of the movie?
So,
Oh boy.
I was kind of disappointed by it.
Okay.
I think it is objectively a good movie. It just like wasn't doing the things that I was hoping it would do. And I guess I have some kind of larger issues with it and also some nits that I'd like to pick at.
Let's do it.
All right. So do you want to start with like the things that I found really disappointing first, and then we can pick at some nits later?
Yeah, let's hit it as hard as it can, and that way when it's down on the ground holding its tummy, then you're just kind of picking the mites off of it.
Yeah. Okay. So I felt like the premise of this movie was so cool. Like, it's such a good premise, but I feel like it implies a really, really interesting question, which is, if we have this technology, is it justified to use it? And I really wanted to see it dig into that question, but it kind of felt to me like the movie sort of dismissed the question and undermined its own ability to ask that question.
That's a very valid point.
Yeah, because like the one time that I remember it really directly addressing that question is that scene in the start, and it's like it's a really well done scene actually, and I was hoping that they would follow up on that scene more, where the guy who's sent by the president is talking to Tom Cruise, and he's like, is it really okay to arrest people for crimes they haven't committed yet?
Are you talking about Colin Farrell's character?
Is that who that is? Yeah,
Okay.
I have no idea who that actor
Because
is.
he's not sent by the president, it's by the Attorney General.
Yeah, I guess I thought he said he had like a thing from the president or something of that nature. But anyways, Tom Cruise like rolls the ball across to him and like does his little spiel about how like that hadn't happened yet. Why did you move your hand? And he's like, you knew it was going to happen. And like, I was hoping it was going to dig into like the ethics of that question.
Yep.
But it didn't really dig into it, and it kind of undermines the even reason to ask the question, because the movie isn't about, is it okay for us to use this? It's about a situation in which Tom Cruise is realizing the conspiracy that the technology doesn't actually work the way it's supposed to. So like, I guess it's perfectly valid to like make a science fiction work about, here's this technology that we thought was great, but then realized it wasn't actually doing what we thought it was. But that's not as interesting to me as saying, here's the science fiction about this technology that is questionable, but it does the thing it's supposed to do.
Well, I mean, it does do the thing it's supposed to do in the movie.
I mean, it does, but it doesn't do it 100% accurately. right? Like that's the movie kind of the movie at least felt to me like the conclusion that it's drawing is that the universe isn't necessarily deterministic because at least one of the precogs is sometimes having differing opinions of what the future is going to be, meaning it's not set in stone. But also, like, once you have that knowledge of the future, it can be changed by having the knowledge. So, like, I guess I feel like that the question of is that technology okay to use isn't something you can ask when the technology isn't 100% perfectly predicting what's going to happen.
Okay, I see what you're saying now. I mean, I will say I disagree with that. It's a valid point, but it's because it's what we have now. Like, our justice system is what we use, and it doesn't work how it's supposed to. So this was just like, I think what it does to me, that's how I saw it, is to the outside world of the movie. First, we probably explain what this movie's about for people who haven't seen it. Touchdown is just, in the future, basically, only in the DC area, they have this ability to see a crime, and it's only murder, an amount of time out, and then the cops are able to intercept and stop the murder. And and then in the movie, Tom Cruise, who's like the chief of police, while doing the little thing of seeing, oh, a murder's going to be happening, who's going to be involved, he sees that he's going to be a murderer, and he's trying to figure out why he would be the murderer, and people are trying to arrest him, and then things happen that we'll talk about later. So, I don't know, I think it makes it felt more, I don't know, I'm trying to say, there was a realistic feeling to me with the fact of what the movie was doing is, in the world of the movie, like, even when you see it the most when that one guy's giving a tour to those children, and he's like, now there's no more murders. So people are like, oh, it's a perfect system and it works, but then the people behind it know it doesn't work 100% of the time. So it's kind of like the children versus the adults. Like, when you get older, you have this wisdom that brings terrible truths, that things that we think are infallible are really just as faulty as everything else. Because to me, like,
okay, that's a really, it hadn't even occurred to me that there was like a metaphorical read to the movie like that.
But
I guess I had like just thought about it as like a question of if we could, then should we?
I think
but that I'll have to like think more about the movie now with that perspective on it, because I think that lens might make me enjoy this movie more if I watched it again.
But like, one, because I think what you brought up is good, is the thing that you're talking about where you know the thing is 100%, but should we use it anyway, is brought up in the... Are you familiar with Civil War, the comic arc in Marvel?
Yeah, I haven't read it, but I am at least vaguely familiar with it.
Well, in Civil War 2, that's the setup, is that there is a mutant who can see the future, and it's 100% accurate. And then people are like, we should use his knowledge, or her knowledge, I can't remember if it's a boy or a girl, but basically use their knowledge to prosecute people who are going to do it, because they know it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So, that was more of a side note, if you're looking for that sort of story.
Yeah, the one it reminded me of was the anime Psycho Pass, if you've ever seen that.
Some of it, I never finished it.
It's all... I like it, but I don't love it.
I saw your face when you were like, and I'm like, that's how I felt about it. That it's like, it was okay, and then I just stopped. The guns were cool.
I felt like it thought it was a little smarter than it was. But yeah, the guns were cool. And I felt like the premise was interesting. But it had a little too much of a love of like directly quoting philosophers in the like what characters are saying, which is not a good move in my opinion.
But I mean, there are definitely some questions in this world that sort of don't make sense, and some of it I think comes from, I think, the philosoph, as opposed to like the Matrix, where the philosophical issues of the movie are front and center. it was more of probably a backseat thing to just setting up sort of like a crime thing. Because I'm sure you saw in the credits, this is based off of a very short story by Philip K. Dick.
Oh yeah? Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
So-
I know that name, but I don't.
He's
It's
Blade
not like-
Runner.
Okay, I haven't watched Blade Runner
Well, he's
either.
do
I know
Android's
I need
Dream
to.
of Electric Sheep.
Yeah, I haven't read it.
Or wait, is that Asimov? No,
I don't think so.
I think it's Dick. I think
I
Dick
do think
is,
it's a more contemporary one. Yeah.
But that is his. One thing I thought about is like cops in this world would have such an advantage over not getting like jail time. Is there's the whole premise of like once he learns, hey, I'm gonna kill someone, and he kidnaps the precog lady, she's like, just don't do it, and then he's like,
Yeah.
oh, is I think rather than going and arresting people, someone's at our door, is I feel like what they would do that would be less terrifying to everyone is if your name comes up on a red ball, they would send like a counselor to your house and be like, hey.
Yeah, that was a big issue I had too. I wrote like, I thought it was so funny that in this world, the punishment for like future crime is that you get locked in a tube and have to listen to Delmar from "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou" play "Herz und Mund und Tat und Lieben" on his organ.
Oh, it is way worse than that.
What are they like actually doing to the people in the tubes?
From what
I didn't
I
understand.
is they're watching their crime over and over again,
Gotcha. Okay.
which is hellish.
yeah.
But
Yeah, that is like a really horrific thing. Especially like if you like that whole technology is predicated on like a deterministic view of the universe.
Mhm.
And like if you're accepting a deterministic view of the universe, then like the idea that you're going to punish people just to like punish them makes like absolutely no sense, because in a deterministic universe people don't actually have free will. So like it still makes sense in that world to do like punishment, I guess, as a deterrent maybe, but like to make it so horrific, like we don't even make contemporary like people who actually commit murders, we don't make them like watch the looping video of their murder. Or I mean, we can't, but even if we could, we wouldn't.
Are you sure?
I mean,
yeah.
it just would be like a horrific human rights violation in so many obvious ways.
It is a movie that I want a sequel to.
Yeah.
That shows like, okay, what happens when these people get out? Are they damaged? Think what you're talking about of the determinism of like it being a deterrent sort of, I think, kind of fits oddly well when we were talking about what's that movie? What, Equilibrium? Is I guess it's a deterrent where, because the only crimes, the murders that happen at this point are like crimes of passion in the movie. 'Cause
Yeah.
they said if you try to plan days ahead, they're gonna get you. Is I guess the deterrent is try to make sure everyone in the world has no emotions that could ever be hurt to the point that they're like, now I have to kill people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. They're like, it's so weird to like have such a harsh punishment for like, obviously it's horrific to murder someone and we do need to like figure out ways to deter that, but at the same time like that's not a guy who's actively evil. It's a guy who's having like a really horrible day because he just found out his wife was cheating on him, you know?
Once again, I think the thing is those sort of questions were not as important as how can we make Tom Cruise look cool while he's running fast.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so it's,
Yeah.
I don't like using the excuse like don't think about it, but it's kind of like when we were talking about motherfuckers. It's just there's issues because they probably weren't thinking about that.
Yeah.
I will say, as far as philosophy aside, I think as a sci-fi movie, I thought it was good, really good.
It's a pretty fun movie, yeah.
It was.
There was definitely some things that I was like, that's a little silly.
Like I want because I definitely have some silly things. What are your silly things?
The one that like really stands out to me is when he goes to visit the lady who developed the precogs
Mm-hmm.
and is like hopped over her walls and is getting attacked by like tangle vines. I was just like, where did this come from? It's like never mentioned at any point before in the movie that this is a world where like people are breeding plants that can do that. So it was just like really jarring for a moment.
Yeah, I guess, but it's 30 years in the future, and I don't know what
Yeah.
we're doing with botany right
I mean,
now.
like, I think it's a perfectly valid technology for them to have made up that exists in that world. It's just like a really weird thing to have pulled on you out of nowhere.
It felt very like fantasy.
Yeah.
I was waiting for him to like start like shooting at them or something. I just realized there weren't any like no there was a ballistic gun. I was like, I don't think there were any ballistic guns in that movie.
Yeah.
But the thing to me that was the dumbest technology was the sick stick.
Which one is that?
It was the baton that all the policemen were like, get your sick sticks
That like
ready.
made him
Vomit?
vomit.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that it was called the stick.
The sick stick. Yeah. It was just
But I
like-
remembered thinking it was like funny that he like touched the guy with the stick and he just like was immediately barfing.
Yeah, I was like, that's terrible, because if you had to subdue someone and then they started puking on you, you'd be like,
Yeah.
I don't want to touch that guy.
Yeah, there has to have been like, why not make like a stun stick? You just want the barf stick?
You got to get all of the contents out of their stomach so they can fit them into the prison tube.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the jetpacks were just kind of goofy. But jetpacks in anything
Yeah.
are always goofy.
Yeah, I also found them goofy. And I felt like that was one special effect that didn't hold up very well either.
Nope.
Was the yeah.
But I think the jetpack scene has like one of my favorite character moments from it is when Tom Cruise is like he's escaping, and him and the one cop are like fighting in the fire escape, and the one jetpack flies off where the one guy would fall, and Tom Cruise stays to keep him holding there.
Yeah.
And he's like, "You got a grip," and then the guy's like, "Yeah," and then he goes. Is that? And I would say in most action movies, like the guy would be like, "Later, Dick," and that guy would just fall. Like he would just fall out of frame, and it's implied that he probably died.
Yeah.
But he's just like, I got you, because I'm a cop and you were my subordinate. I really liked that moment.
Yeah, that is good.
Will did not like the weird things that scan your eyes and then try to market to you directly.
The little like spider bots.
No, like when you'd walk into a store and be like, "Boop, hi,
Oh,
did you?
right.
You should
That were,
drink
like,
a fresh
tracking you all
beer."
around the world. Yeah. He didn't like that.
He didn't like the idea of like walking into a store, machine scanning you, and be like, "Hey, how'd those pants work out for you, Will?"
I mean, it like feels horrifically dystopian, but I thought it was a cool idea for a technology in that movie.
Yeah, I just think for more of a personal thing, like I just looked at him when he started doing that, and he just was sort of like cringing and curling into a ball, and I was like, oh. But Peter Stormare, I thought was great in that movie.
Who does he play?
He's the eye surgeon.
That was a fun character. I felt like it was really goofy, but it was fun.
I think that's what Peter Stormare is always this great blend of goofy, but then also like deeply harrowing. Is that was when people talk about Minority Report, like within the first 2 seconds, my brain always goes to the scene of when he's hooking him in for eye surgery, and he's doing the reveal of, "Hey, you know me, and because of you, I went to jail." And Tom Cruise,
Yeah.
like that is like a horror scene. And it's,
Yeah, it really is.
but then
I thought for sure something fucked up was going to happen to him.
but then it doesn't. It's because he was being sincere and saying, "Thank you
Yeah.
for giving me that time. There's a sandwich and milk in the fridge." And I was like, if I was Tom Cruise, I would have just started peeing immediately.
Yeah. If only he hadn't also left a moldy sandwich and milk in the fridge.
It's from the last guy.
Yeah.
But yes, the spider bots, those are creepy. They can just tase you with their
Yeah.
little spider fingers.
Indeed they can.
My favorite piece of technology from that movie, though, is the weird kinetic pulse shotgun.
Yeah, that was like one of the coolest scenes I thought, where he's where he's like shooting people with that and flipping it around.
Like, I want that to be in a video game, and I know I've played video games that basically have like non-lethal push shotguns, but the fact you have to like whip it to charge it up,
it's pretty cool.
I would love to play like a character action game that like while you're punching and kicking, you'd be hitting another button to be like twirling it up, and then if you twirled it enough, you could just shoot it immediately.
Yeah,
that would be cool.
It would be pretty cool.
Delicious. But what were oh, sorry.
I assume you were gonna ask what were some of the other things that bothered me. Yeah. So like that's what I was headed towards anyways.
Let's do it.
So I didn't feel, this is my last like big one, and I'm not as sold on it, and I feel like I could be turned around on it. But I did not feel very attached to any of the characters in this.
That is, yeah.
Like, I feel like Tom Cruise is good in action scenes, but like he didn't, like, none of the emotions that he was portraying like felt all that moving to me, or at least like not in the way that he was doing them. They just like weren't clicking as like, here's a real person really feeling something.
That's, yeah, I think the only two scenes in that where I felt like a genuine like emotional thing from Tom Cruise was in the flashback where he's at the pool and he's talking about holding his breath. Just like that exchange and then him kissing his son felt really right. Like that felt like, oh, like that's what it was like with my dad. And then the scene near the end when is it Agatha? Was that her name?
It was something like that. I think that's right.
Was telling the alternate future for their son. But that was mainly for both him and his wife. That was just like a... But that may have also just be, like, putting yourself in their shoes. I'm like, that would be... But... Yeah,
that's the... I felt like the emotional moments were more driven by the plot than they were... Yeah, I mean, like, the one that really stands out for me is the one where he's like... It's like near the start of the movie, and he's come home from work to get high and, like... watch a video of his dead kid and then like a cheesecake video of his wife, who I assumed at the time was dead, but then she's like not even dead, so it's a little weird that he's like watching that. But like he just like I didn't feel like I was looking at a guy feeling genuine sadness. I just felt like I was looking at a guy being like stony faced and in a pose that was supposed to imply sadness.
I agree. Yeah, the cars were also weird.
I thought the cars were great.
I agree. There were cars that had like 4 people in them. Can you see the chat, Robert?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I said that.
When Tom Cruise was jumping around on cars, there was one where he was jumping on top, and there were like 4 people sitting around a small champagne like table, and I was like, "That's cool."
I thought I thought it was just a cool idea that like in the future you would have cars that go like up the side of things too, because that's how you're like utilizing space now. That it makes sense to have cars do that. So yeah, that was cool.
The only thing I didn't like, but it's not because like it was bad, is I don't like the idea of someone somewhere can hit a button and be like, I've just hijacked your car and moving it to a destination, and you have no say on where it's going right now.
Yeah, like, I guess that's just like a self-driving car thing, though.
But that's scary. Like that's what I was saying. Is like, I couldn't be in that car without thinking, what if an evil dude is gonna ransom me and he just hijacks my car? I can't Tom Cruise jump between a car waterfall. I would die.
I hate driving so much, and I'm like so terrified every time that I have to drive that I would very happily accept that one little niggling doubt of like, what if someone decided to move my car and I had no power? Like, I would happily take that over having to actually drive right now.
Hey, different strokes.
Yeah.
So those are your big things. What are your niggles?
Okay, so niggle number 1 is that like
you have to be careful saying that word too much if Twitch hears us.
Yeah, you are correct. So like the was just like I felt like some of the humor was a little bit out of tone. Like it was funny, but like the one that really stood out to me is the scene where he's breaking back into the temple.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like a goofy scene where he drops his eyeballs and has to like chase after them with like silly music playing.
It wasn't silly
like,
music.
I feel the music does change a little bit, I think.
I didn't think that was supposed to be a
actively
goofy scene at all. That was supposed to be like, oh shit.
It read as just goofy to me. But,
I think it was the way Tom Cruise was running after them because he was like old man, like crabbing after them. But
yeah,
they weren't like playing like Benny Hill or Hackety Sax music.
It's not like that intense, but I do, and maybe I'm just like remembering it wrong because the scene read as silly to me, so my brain made the music sound silly to me.
Maybe I can.
But I do think the like music changes a little bit there, and it's not like full Benny Hill, but it's maybe like 0.1% Benny Hill, or 10% Benny Hill. Are you looking it up now?
I'm trying to find it. Yeah.
But I mean like that, or like the scene, like this is one that I genuinely found funny, but also just like tonally weird. The scene where he's trying to find clothes for Agatha, and he like is in a store looking at clothes and like sneakily measuring the clothes against a different woman in the store.
Yeah, like, I thought that one was fine. Like it was kind of funny, but it's like okay.
It just like feels like it disrupts the tone of a serious movie, I guess. But
because I think before that it maybe earned that, because just before that scene, like that part happens when he walks into the store. They're like, "Hello, Mr. Yamamoto," and he's like, "Yamamoto, damn it!" Like that made me chuckle too. So I think it was kind of like a 1-2. I don't think
I caught that.
Yeah, because like he has the eyes of a Japanese guy.
Gotcha.
So he's like, "Oh man." So that to me, I didn't think that felt like an action movie joke.
Yeah, that's fair. They were okay. You know what? I'm gonna retract my
yes.
Retract my minor complaint.
The one that I thought was dumb that was trying to be silly was like during the escape scene when he crashes through the window. Like it was kind of like when they just kept crashing through the floors and people were like having dinner. I thought that was dumb.
It was pretty silly.
He's like in the bed and he's like, "By the state of Washington D.C., you have the right to." Oh.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Go to sleep." I was like, "That's stupid."
There were some during the spider scene that read that way to me too, where it's just like panning over all of the different people in the building, and it's like two people having a fight, and they just like stop for the spiders to scan them and then go right back at it.
That got some laughs here at the house.
Yeah, I mean it's like. It's funny, but it's like that spider scene could be just like objectively terrifying. And I guess I would have liked to see the like one where you're like, oh fuck, this would be so weird to have this in this world. But
I guess that's sort of the point, is that's what this world is like. They're used to it.
Yeah, that's true.
When they were like, hey, the spiders, people weren't going, oh god, the spiders! They were just like, oh, spiders. It was like a fire drill at that point.
Yeah, I mean, maybe... It didn't seem like a common thing though, and because I remember there's that like one mother who's like, "You made my kids cry," like coming after them.
That's such a I don't know, like parents in real life are like, "You made my kid cry because the sirens of your car were too loud." What the fuck, police? And then the police are like, "What do you want me to do?" She is someone who wants to speak to the manager all the time.
Fair enough.
But. It's also a movie from 2002, so...
Yeah, that's true.
It's...
Alright.
Alright.
So, last nit that I'd like to pick at...
Alright.
...is a thing that I think doesn't make sense in the plot. Which is that... Okay, so maybe I've misunderstood what the backstory is for how the precogs came to be.
Mm-hmm.
But if I understood it correctly, she says that the precogs are kind of the unintentional result of this drug that was on the market, but now like a safer form of it is what's on the market.
Yes.
Um, so basically, they're like they're kids who became unintentional victims of these drugs and have this weird thing, but there's not going to be more of them. And even from the ones that they were very rare.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't make sense to me that they have invested the amount of money they have into this project and then into taking it to a national scale when like it takes 3 precogs just for one city. Where are they going to get more? And also, having precogs is a program that only lasts for like as long as those precogs are alive.
Mm-hmm.
And like in the future, what are they going to do? They're just going to be like, well, we had 100% crime prevention for like 80 years, but no more. Or are they going to like make more precogs? Like, what is the long-term plan of that program?
That is a very good point, and that's a thing that I feel like a sequel would be really good for that. It was like my assumption was they would start making more. They would would use that drug, but like maybe try to make it not as terrible and just try to make artificial kids.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is something that should have been brought up, but there are definitely some, I guess that's not really a plot hole, that's just like but what about this thing?
Yeah.
What happens after this movie?
It just seems like a thing that contradicts something that's going on in the plot actively unless they mention it. But yeah, I think that is the like nittiest of nitpicks in some ways, to be like, this one little thing doesn't make sense.
No, I wouldn't even call that a nitpick. That's very valid. We talked about that too after the movie. We were like, what was going to happen?
Yeah.
But I guess I don't know. It's a movie that in 2002 the standards for sci-fi writing probably weren't that high.
That's probably true.
And it was just about
like there's probably a lot about this movie where like I imagine there were some creative decisions that they wanted to make that just had to be compromised at that time for like what Hollywood thought people wanted.
Because it's already kind of a long movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like 2 hours and 20 minutes or something, isn't it? Which is really long by Hollywood action movie standards.
Especially back then. Like now movies have gotten longer because people want their money's worth sitting in a theater. So yeah. I'm sure
that...
Oh, sorry.
That, and also I think we just like have been so exposed to like prestige television and things like that we're expecting more complex stories.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to make your movies longer for that. But
that's just kind of what it is.
Yeah.
But overall you didn't like it. That's fine. I'm not going to be like, you're dumb for not liking it.
I wouldn't say that I enjoyed watching it, and actually like having this conversation with you. I think if I went back and watched it again, I would probably like it more. I think part of the problem was that I was aware of the premise before I had even watched. Like, I knew at least the premise of the precogs.
Mm-hmm.
And my like big question at the front was the thing that I was like, I'm really excited to see a movie like struggle with that question. And so it was just disappointing because it like very expressly did not do that thing. But like maybe if I went in again to watch it with more realistic expectations of what it's about, I would probably enjoy it more.
I know for sure, like I had said before watching it, I was like, this might be my favorite sci-fi movie. Yeah. Watching it now, I would definitely put it in my top 3, probably.
Yeah.
Just because mainly I'm not a huge sci-fi person, so it was more, this was like a noir story with a sci-fi backdrop.
Gotcha.
But after watching it again, I was like, oh, okay, I definitely like Matrix 1 more than this. And possibly Blade Runner. We're going to be watching Blade Runner and then the new Blade Runner.
I know. I've heard... Well, I've heard mixed things about the original, but only good things about the new one. So I'm excited for that project.
I'm curious what the mixed things would be. I've heard sort of the opposite.
some of the reviewers that I listened to, and I can't even remember who it was. Like I listened to too many reviewers, but I remember someone that I was listening to making the case that the old one just like is a movie where so many movies have borrowed from it that it like feels a little obsolete now, whereas like the new one feels like a much better telling of some of the ideas or something.
Well, that's not fair at all. Like, that's
Yeah.
that's a terrible argument to say that movie's not good because since it came out, everyone else then built on it, and now that movie sucks.
Well, I think that's different from that's like there's a difference between saying it's not good and saying it's like not as enjoyable to watch now, which is I think what they were saying was that they like actively enjoy watching the new one and they don't in a way that they don't enjoy watching the old one. But
I don't know. It's
I don't know.
definitely
Maybe I'll have to.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, I was not going to say anything important.
It's definitely a slower burn movie. Like watching it, I was afraid like this is gonna be boring, but it's a movie not about action. It's about storytelling and world building, and it's really good. And then when there are like those bursts of action, they feel more important because it's not just kung fu fighting and other stuff.
It's been on my list of things that I know I need to watch for a long time, so that'll be good when we watch that.
All right. So, was there anything else you wanted to say about it? Because we're just shy of the 40-minute mark for the movie.
Not that I can think of. I'll scroll through my notes and see if I'm seeing anything.
I did think the idea with the wood balls was really good.
Yeah, that was a really cool thing. And the movie like when I first saw it, I was like, man, this is aesthetically cool, but also kind of dumb. But then when the movie explains why, I was like, okay, that's actually kind of cool.
That's how I felt even this time because I forgot the reason why. I'm like, why the fuck would they have to put it on balls? That looks really cool to have the rolling effect and then like the spin reveal. I'm like, that's neat. And then I was like, but why? And they're like, oh, because it's as unique as a fingerprint and you can't fuck with it. And I was like, oh, okay. Trying to think.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything else.
I don't understand how Tom Cruise didn't die getting built into that car.
That made me laugh so hard. I mean, you're right. Like, it's really silly, but it was like funny, that whole intense fight scene, and then you think he's like getting. I mean, he's not actually going to have been killed because he's the main character, but it like seems pretty. It's like a pretty grim thing, and then he like pops up over the window and then just drives.
Like, how did he drive it away? That was one thing I didn't understand. It's like there weren't keys in it. Like that's not how cars are made.
Oh man, it's like the kind of scene where I really wish he had sunglasses so that he could just...
Yes. Later, fuckers, and then he just peels out. Because also, like, as he's doing it, the door is opening to let him out too. And I'm just like, is there like someone up in like a thing going, "Run, Tom Cruise, run!" and like opening?
Got, like hilariously lucky, yeah.
But yeah, I thought acting-wise, I thought all the actors were good. Colin Farrell did a pretty good job.
Yeah, some of them I felt like, I guess, the ones who I enjoyed, I felt like acted pretty big. So there were like fun performances, but I don't know if I'd consider them like good performances. That makes sense.
Yep.
And yeah,
I wish we would have got a definitive answer on what happened with Sean. That's the thing where I'm like,
who was Sean?
There's the son.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, we never figure out what actually happened to him.
Nope.
Yeah.
Because you learn that that guy didn't kill him, so he could still be alive.
I don't know. I don't think that bothers me, but I kind of like ambiguity in movies, so...
It did make me laugh, because I don't know how familiar you are with the game Heavy Rain.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't hear you there.
Oh, sorry, so I don't know how familiar you are with the game Heavy Rain.
I have kind of a vague idea of what it is and the reputation of the director.
Well, like, have you heard of, like, the Jason meme?
I don't think so.
Like the whole, with a very brief aside, at the very beginning of the movie, the main character loses his son, and there's just a sequence where you're going through a mall, and it keeps saying hit X for Jason, and every time you hit X, he goes, Jason! And you can just keep mashing it and just be yelling for Jason. But then, near the end, his son, that son dies. His other son gets kidnapped, and his son's name is Sean. And you can mash it to keep yelling Sean, so at the pool, when he kept going, Sean! Sean! I just kept seeing the little pop-up for Sean. But that game came out after, so
Yeah. Well, maybe it was a loving nod to Minority Report.
I don't
The
know
yell for Sean.
if
I am gonna go
David
ahead and
Cage
say
has the ability to feel
was.
love.
Yeah.
His games are weird.
Yeah. That's what I've heard.
All right, well we're about the half-ish way mark, so nothing else to say on the movie?
I don't think so.
All right, then let's move on to topic numero dos.
All right.
Does a good game have to be fun?
Yes.
Awesome. This is what I wanted. Because
Um,
I feel the opposite.
Oh, no. I
Oh!
was not saying yes. I was
Damn
saying
it.
yes to the topic.
Gotcha.
I absolutely think that well, so I think the answer to the question depends on the way that you define the word fun.
Mm-hmm. That's what Evan was
Um,
saying.
But if you are defining fun as like only ha 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 ha, I'm having so much fun, then I would say no. A game can be not fun but still be good.
Because F is for friends who do stuff together. What?
Yeah.
Did I say fuck? U is for you, and oh, he's just doing the fun SpongeBob song. I was confused. I was like, what's happening right now?
Oh. I assumed you were doing a SpongeBob thing, and then I looked up and saw it was Will, and then you were like, "Oh, it's a SpongeBob thing."
I thought he was gonna spell out fuck and be like, oh.
Gotcha.
But is like for me, well, I like that we're just gonna agree to each other this whole time with no form of conflict now, because we're just like, yeah. Like, I don't think horror games are fun,
Yeah.
but they're good. And I think and this is, I guess, where I would argue with people, is that they're like, no, they are fun, because I like being scared. In the moment, I don't believe anyone enjoys being scared.
Yeah.
I
It's
think-
just that like moment after you're scared where you're like, "Oh, haha, I'm not scared anymore."
You're like, I'm not gonna die, and then that feels
Yeah.
good. That's not fun. That's a form of catharsis.
Yeah.
So people who are like, no, horror games are fun. I'm like, no, if a horror game's done right, it shouldn't be fun. I guess the closest I can
Yeah.
think to a horror game being fun is Resident Evil 4.
Yeah. And that one's like not really all that scary. It's arguably more of an action game
Yeah.
than it is a horror game.
But it's definitely
I-
tense.
I like made a list of like genres of games where I feel like fun isn't the emotion that you're playing that game for necessarily,
All right, let's hear 'em.
or at least. So like the first one that I thought of was like games that are relaxing rather than fun. Like Stardew Valley is a game. It has like moments that are fun, but I think it's more relaxing than it is fun.
Mm-hmm.
Or like another one that I thought of in that genre that I'm sure you'll be like, Robert, what the fuck? Why is this a thing that you know about? Is a game called Diaries of a Spaceport Janitor.
Oh, I have that game.
Oh, you have it. Have
No,
you played it?
I don't have that game. I just
You don't
I
have
just
it.
want to be. I
You
just
just
wanted.
wanted to, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you're a janitor and you wander around this weirdly realized spaceport, like picking up trash, and some of it's pretty cool. I don't
Mhm.
know, like it's a relaxing experience to like wander around. Or like games that I would say are challenging rather than fun. And like maybe it's fun to be challenged, but like Dark Souls was one that I was thinking about for that, where like I think there's an argument to be made that you could be playing Dark Souls and have a good experience, but not necessarily be having fun.
you're jumping ahead of me because I also have Dark Souls on sort of the
Yeah.
list. Because I agree, I think Dark Souls is a weird mix of
Yeah.
it can be a very fun game like I'm playing it now,
Hmm.
and it's fun, but also what's not fun about it is those when you first start, it's almost like a survival horror game in some sense. You don't know what you're doing, limited
Yeah.
resources, and I would say most of the feeling of it, like Dark Souls for your first time, is you just going, "Oh my god, what am I doing? Oh my god!" Or you'll see something like, "What the fuck's that?" and then you run away from it.
Yeah.
But then you get really strong, and you go back to early areas to pick something up. Like I needed like 5,000 souls to buy something for what was going on in my Dark Souls 2 playthrough. And I went back to this early area that the enemies were tough, but they also gave disproportionately high souls. And I was just hitting those things in one and killing them in one go. And I was like, oh, this feels so good. And I was
Yeah.
having fun. But it was more fun because of the moments of, oh god, they're going to beat me up that had happened
That came before it.
hours
Yeah.
before.
Well, and it like I would say it also has another thing, other beyond challenge. It's a game that I at least consider to be like really beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I have played and not finished Dark Souls 3 different times now. Um, which to me like says it's a game that I keep coming back to for some reason. But like I'm not usually having fun when I'm playing it. I think I'm just like really appreciating the environment and like am sometimes getting a kick out of the challenge.
Because yeah, like
Or-
what you were saying
yeah.
with relaxed games is like some puzzle games for me, like Jonathan Blow's The Witness.
Yeah.
I don't think that's very fun, but it's because you're walking around like this really beautiful island with no background music, and you're just solving
Yeah.
these little line puzzles, and it's just like that was fun. Actually, no, it wasn't fun. It was that was a thing I did. Okay, I'm done for right now.
Yeah, puzzle games actually came up in another of the categories that I was thinking of, which is like games that are just sort of mentally stimulating.
Mm-hmm.
Like is Minesweeper actually fun to play, or is it just keeping your brain busy?
It is. It is nothing. It is
Yeah.
such a nothing thing. I don't like. I can't call
Um,
that fun or
Yeah.
engaging because it's just you're just clicking.
But I would even say something like Hearthstone or like the Pokemon card game are also games where like I don't think fun is the primary thing that I'm feeling when I'm playing them, but I am like engaged in making interesting decisions that I think will have an impact on my ability to win the game.
Mm-hmm. I could see some. I would say probably most people who play Hearthstone would say it would probably be more of a fun game. That I think
Yeah.
feels more like a personal taste rather than something you really argue like being
Yeah.
one way or the other.
Yeah, that probably depends on like how casually you're playing it too.
Mm-hmm.
Like because when I was really playing Hearthstone, I would like consistently get past like rank 5 and made it one time to where if I'd won one more game I would have hit legend, which is like the top rank. And like I was definitely not having fun doing that. But I was like mentally engaged in what I was doing.
Like that's how I imagine Ninja plays Fortnite right now.
Yeah.
Or he's playing it like 8 hours a day. I
Yeah.
don't think he's having fun anymore.
I think it can be an enjoyable experience sometimes, though, to be like mentally engaged in that way.
Man, this is. I'm not sure what we're going to talk about now. We're going to have to.
Yeah.
Just because we're like, yeah, our points are both valid. I agree with you. Shit.
I had a couple other categories of games.
All right, keep going. I'm just saying overall because like I just looked up
Yeah.
and we've been doing this for 7 minutes and I'm just like, oh no.
Oh no.
Yes.
Like emotionally moving games was a category I thought of. The one that always comes to mind for me in that genre is Valhalla, which is like arguably more of a visual novel than it is a game. But
Mm-hmm.
like that's a game that like made me feel legitimately like legitimate feelings of empathy for its characters. And like it definitely has some moments that are enjoyable and fun to play, but I mean there's also just like a lot of reading and kind of sinking into that world in that game. Um, and then the last category that I thought of was games that are philosophically challenging. Um, Nier Automata being the one that stood out to me just because like I I understand like part of what that game's about, but like there's a lot of it that I don't think I get, but I want to. Um, so like that part of the game that's interesting to me isn't necessarily like, haha, I'm having fun, but it is engaging in something that want to pursue.
I guess I was like Nier Automata. From what I've heard, that is actually a fun game to play. But it
Okay,
all okay.
so it is a fun game to play, but to make my case, I want to explain my first experience with the game.
Okay.
Um, which is that the first time I played it, I played the PC port. And I didn't know at the time that it's like an infamously poorly optimized port. And also, you know how bad my computer is.
I unfortunately do now.
Yeah. And so, like, literally any time that I went into combat, the frame rate would drop to the extent that, like, I thought that every single battle was happening in slow motion for like the first 3 hours that I played that game. And then finally was like, oh no, my computer's just bad. Because that at least did a good job of making it like feel smooth, but like because my computer was so bad at running that game, it wasn't really much fun to play. But I still pushed through the entirety of the A storyline because like what the game was about was interesting enough to me that I was willing to like have an unintentional slow-mo battle every time I fought a robot just to like get through it further.
Well, I don't think that's very fair. Like that's kind of like saying like because you weren't playing it as intended. Because
I guess what I'm saying though is like the fact that I had that experience tells me that there's something in that game that could stand on its own even if you removed the fun of the combat. That element would still be there and would have at least kept me engaged.
Gotcha. I was just hoping to hear like an example of the game where it's like there is no fun element because there's that thing, but then the fun is the bonus, so there is fun to be had. So, do you have any emotionally whatever games that are games? Because I honestly don't think visual type novels like Valhalla are games. They're more of like an interactive experience.
Yeah.
Because really, because there's nothing you can do wrong in Valhalla, right? Like you can't be stopped from getting to the end because of things you are doing. Correct?
There are different endings that can happen, and you can definitely get better or worse endings depending on how well you do. Because so the one mechanic that it has that I think makes it a little bit more than a visual novel is that the people who you're serving drinks to in the bar will sometimes have you pick the drink for them. And like you have to figure out which of the drinks in your menu are the one that they would be most likely to like.
Okay. Yeah, that would
so you
make
can
it a
like
game.
fuck up that decision.
Gotcha.
And that will like have an impact on what happens.
Okay. In that case, that even something that small, that changes it and I would say makes it a game.
Yeah.
But when it's just you're just hitting like Hatofu boyfriend or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that one is you just keep clicking and then you'll pick like yes or no.
Yeah.
For decisions.
It's more like a choose your own adventure than.
Mm-hmm. Like, and I don't consider those games. They're not bad, but I wouldn't call that a game.
Yeah.
Because there was no like decision making or reflex test. It was just. Yep. Or
yeah.
nah. But that would be a whole conversation to have later, is our visual novels games.
Yeah. So, like, the question that I thought was potentially more challenging, though, that, like, maybe we can try it and get into this one a little bit,
Okay.
was, like, if you define the term fun more broadly to just include, like, anything that you're doing because you're enjoying it, then is that still the same answer? Like, if we're saying, like, I like playing Valhalla even though it makes me sad, being sad isn't fun, but I enjoy feeling that emotion when the game makes me feel it. If we're including that in the definition of things that are fun,
Well,
then
that
can
is
you have a...
fundamentally changing definitions, because enjoyment and fun
Yeah.
are different.
Okay. Well, so then we just, like, change the wording of the question. Could you have a game that's not enjoyable but is
No.
still a good game?
No.
You don't think so?
I don't think you can have...
I don't know. So, like, it's not a game. I could think of one piece of media that I have experienced that was, like, an objectively unpleasant experience, but I think it is a really, really good book.
Mm-hmm.
Which is The Pale King by David Foster Wallace.
Okay.
Which is a book. The thesis of the book, the point he's trying to make in the book is that people who do really tedious work, and in the book it's accountants at the IRS,
Mm-hmm.
are kind of heroic because they're willing to tolerate a horrific amount of boredom. And so, like, the book is trying to make you feel the boredom of the characters. So there will be chapters where, like, you're just sitting in a boardroom and it's like 5 pages of, and then so and so flipped the page, and then the person next to them, like, put a paperclip on a thing, you know, like, and it has, like, it has other scenes that are more interesting, but, like, there's a lot of scenes that are intentionally tedious and boring, but, like, it had to make them tedious and boring to make its point. And, like, I feel like you could make a game that has similar components, where it is, like, actively unenjoyable to play, but it's making a point by being unenjoyable. I don't know what that game would be. I just don't think it's impossible.
I feel like the closest thing to that is in existence is Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy.
Yeah.
But
I don't think I would call that a good game, but
I'm just saying, like, that's the only thing I can think of is...
yeah.
Because to me, like, I don't know, The Pale King, it sounds... That does not sound enjoyable or fun or a good book. It sounds like,
I mean, like,
an interesting idea.
It's a hard book to explain. Like, I don't know. David Foster Wallace is a legitimately brilliant writer.
It sounds like, well, from how it's being described, as a book that's up its own ass. But as if the point is, if it's, I don't know, something like that would be. Oh, this wrapper's coming off really easily. Like, we get it. Like, you could, I don't know, that the boredom thing is okay. We get the point of your whole shtick is to show that boredom is what makes you erotic, but I don't want to put myself through that.
Yeah.
Because unless there is a good narrative...
Yeah.
Is there a good narrative in that book?
I think so, but it's more like there are some really good vignettes in it.
Well, then that sounds like that's enjoyable.
Yeah, those parts are enjoyable. The boredom parts aren't enjoyable, but I think they're an important part of the book. And also, like, the book as a whole, even though it has, like, fun vignettes, the book as a whole is not an enjoyable read. Like,
I guess I haven't read it.
Yeah.
Any artist, I think, who makes a work that is supposed to be unenjoyable for the artist, I mean, for their person to accept it, I think is not doing their job well. Even if it's supposed to be sort of like a harsh message about something that's real is because if it is supposed to hurt, our natural instinct is to reject it. So it is very likely that that important message will not be absorbed because, like, I guess a good example... Sorry, were you going to say something?
No, give me your example first.
Is the movie Lord of War, which I cannot remember, and I think it's still a decent movie. Have you seen it, or know what I'm talking about?
No, I have no idea.
It's a Nicolas Cage vehicle where he is... I don't remember what he starts as. Like I think he starts like a normal businessman, but he ends up like being a weapons dealer in Africa, and he ends up like making lots of money selling weapons to both like the resistance and like a local warlord.
Yeah.
And as like the movie goes, like I think it has an amazing opening sequence where it shows the life of a bullet. Where it shows it being forged, made, transported, loaded into a gun, and it's all from like the camera is like right on top of where the bullet would be, so it's like you're the bullet. So then being fired into a child's head. But it has like nice music to it. So you're the audience at that moment would be like, "Oh, this is interesting. I've never seen this before. This is an interesting shot that's happening." So they can sink into that enjoyment. And then the music's kind of fun, and then when it hits that moment of bam, a child just got shot with the bullet that I was riding on, then that kind of goes, whoa. But and then by the end of the movie, you no longer, like, you still kind of sympathize with Nicolas Cage, but you just see all of this horrible stuff. It gets very bleak, and everything starts falling apart. But it was those good parts that got you there to, like, then feel it. That's how I feel, is that there needs to be... Basically, you need to be softened up before they punch you in the gut. But if the art comes out just swinging, I think most people will be like, dude, what? This is hard to get into.
That's, like... I think that's a valid point, but I don't think that means that it's, like, invalid to say that you want to do that with a piece of art.
Oh, yeah, this is purely an opinion.
Yeah. Like... I would say that makes a piece of art inaccessible, but it could still be good.
It just depends what you're doing.
I think, like, I was thinking about this some, and I think there's actually a very good argument for, like, why you would make a piece of art that's that inaccessible and could only really work that way, potentially. Where, like, if you're trying to get someone to, like, empathize with someone else who's having a really horrific experience, and you're just like directly giving them like, here's that horrific experience, or at least like as directly as you can. Like that's a thing that a lot of people will never try, but I don't think that makes it invalid to make that piece of art about that.
I mean, I don't say it's invalid, I just don't think it's effective. That's my argument, is just doing that doesn't work.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it, like, it's a thing. I think it works, it just works on a lot less people.
I get, because like the thing you were saying with like, the idea of empathy is if someone was going through this terrible experience and this artwork was just... Like, I can't even think of what a good example would be. I'm just... Like, I guess thinking, like this is a bad one. For people who were in concentration camps, just throwing out horrific images of malnourished bodies and gas chambers, that, like, will make me feel bad, but I don't feel invested. I just see from a human level, like, oh, that's bad. But you have... Then if you... Let's say we made a movie about it, about people who were... just having to survive Holocaust, you have like a moment between prisoners where someone tells like, oh, when I was a kid, my favorite candy was these sort of chocolate things, and then in the movie, that guy gets the chocolate smuggled in for him, and he gets to have it, and he has that moment in the movie where he eats the chocolate and cries. then that guy gets put in the gas chamber and dies.
Yeah,
Is because
that's
we
true.
had that moment of we can relate to him. Then when they get us, it hurts more. But if it just opens with this dude being put in a gas chamber, we're just like, that sucks. That dude's in a gas chamber.
I agree with that. I think that's true. I will still at least defend the one little corner of I think it is theoretically possible to make something like that that's good.
Oh yeah, like
but I don't know what that thing is, what it looks like.
Yeah, I can't deny that there's going to be someone one day who's like going to pull down this smock and be like, "Look at what I did," and then everyone's going to cry and be like, "I get it. It hurt the whole time, but it's perfect." But I'm just saying I haven't seen it yet, and that's just for me when I'm writing or doing game design and stuff. That's how I feel is when you're just being inaccessible for inaccessibility's sake. That doesn't really help anyone. As far as I've seen it done, like, there's not a trick to it yet that has been explained in a writer's workshop to be like, no, but if you're inaccessible on this way, the only people that I could see liking it are people who want to be like counterculture nerds and be like, it's perfectly unacceptable, so you wouldn't get it, Dad. But once again, this is just my opinion, and I'm super open for if one day someone goes, no, look what we found, and I would look at it and be like, oh, that is that thing.
As someone with a great fondness for pretentious things, I guess I'm a little susceptible to that.
But
that's why I can tolerate reading The Pale King.
But I don't know. But going way back to what the thing was, does a video game need to be enjoyable in some sense?
Yeah.
Yes, because it's because unlike a book or a piece of painting, you are involved in its progression.
Yeah.
That I can't see. Like, I think a really good example of this is Spec Ops: The Line. Are you familiar with it?
I've heard a lot about it, but I haven't actually played it.
It's a game that I got and played, and then I made William and Daniel play and beat it. I'm pretty sure I made Daniel beat it.
Yeah.
I may be thinking of Bioshock. But I made a few other people at the Jefferson house play it, and it is just like a third-person action shooter. From when you just like see the cover and see gameplay of it, it just looks like standard third-person shooter, but it is based pretty heavily on the Heart of Darkness story.
Yeah.
And it uses its third-person shooting that is very kind of okay as a vehicle of seeing your character just degrade, like not digress, is that a word? Kind of spiral downwards.
Yeah.
And it turns into, I almost don't want to keep playing because I just know it's going to keep getting worse and I'm going to be sad.
Yeah.
But then there'll be a cool part where you have to like ride on the top of a flaming truck and you have a grenade launcher and you're like, this is cool. And then you accidentally light 15 kids on fire in a cutscene and you're like, oh.
Man. Yeah, I haven't played it, but I've heard that Red Dead 2 has that same kind of thing going on, right?
Sort
You've
of.
played it, right?
Yeah, I played it and beat it. It's
like you
great.
have like cancer or something, so like as the plot's progressing, spoilers for Red Dead 2.
You do not have cancer. For people who are watching in the chat, I will say 100% you don't have cancer. Yeah,
okay.
I don't want to
so
spoil.
I was wrong on that.
Yeah, no, but
yeah,
yeah. I was wondering.
You have. All right.
No, it is not quite what you're getting at. It is.
Yeah.
It is not as tragic as it could be because of certain things, but without spoiling any more, I was doing a super good guy run. Mm-hmm. So as it was happening, it was not that tragic because of the life decisions I was making. Because also that thing sort of happens, and you're given so much time to process a negative thing that is happening that it's not like... So yeah, it does a good job of, I don't think, the not cancer. But yeah, I don't want to talk about that right now. The game hasn't been out for that long, and I know Will hasn't played it. And we bought it for, yeah. But
Sorry,
yeah,
Will.
it's okay. He's scribbling. Yeah, Red Dead, and then some horror games are really. I can't think of actually any horror games that were like, I don't want to go any further because I don't know what's going to happen and I'm going to get spooked harder because I'm not normally scared by video games because I'm a big tough boy. But no, it just. Scary games don't normally scare me, but seeing horrific things done by like ordinary people is what hits me the hardest.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why Spec Ops: The Line was like, it's
Gotcha.
people trying to survive, and surviving in a terrible environment means doing terrible things sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like not even like Fallout doesn't do that very well. Like it's because it's not trying to. It's like being kind of like a goofy game where there's just bodies up on spikes and you can shoot everyone's knees out of their buttholes and it's fine.
Yeah.
But no, Spec Ops: The Line, and I can't really think of another game, but probably one of the Metro games because Russians are just really good at hurting my emotions. Have you played any of those games?
I played the first one, but I never finished it.
Okay. Because yeah, those are good, but I don't know. I just can't see unless I was gonna say unless you were a masochist. I couldn't see you playing games unenjoyable, but by that definition, you take enjoyment out of being abused. So even then, it kind of bends backwards to being enjoyable.
Yeah, that's it's a tricky question if you phrase it like that, I guess.
It's sort of like the whole idea that it's impossible to do a truly selfless act.
Yeah. It's impossible to play through a truly unenjoyable video game.
Because like even if you're like, unless it was like I guess that's not true. Like because you could if it's your job. I'm sure people playing through Ride to Hell Retribution were like, this is terrible.
Yeah,
but
even if you're doing QA testing for like a good game, that's probably horrifically unfun.
It is definitely horrifically unfun. I got to do like an open source testing thing where like it was bug reporting and I just had to move a dude along a wall.
Yeah.
But like hundreds of people were doing it. Like so it didn't feel as bad, but like I've watched and listened to podcasts people who were QA testers and they're like, yeah, you just come in every day and then rub Mario against every surface for 8 hours and then you come back and do it again. But I don't know, like I'm putting it in the idea of you are the average consumer who has nearly infinite options of stuff to do. I cannot see that person playing through a completely enjoyable video game. Like,
probably so.
Now the only reason people would play Ride to Hell Retribution is because of how bad it is.
They're ironically enjoying it.
Like that is another game I wish we lived close, or somehow I would love for you to play it, and then I could watch you play it on the stream because it is bad. It is bad in almost every sense of game design. Is that it has become the sort of, I heard it described as the Plan 9 from outer space of video games.
You're sure that's not Hong Kong 97?
That's not even like a fun game though. That's just, it's like a weird stupid side like what is it? Space Invaders where you just die in one hit. I know what that is. You can't trick me with your game knowledge.
I thought I had you, but I guess maybe you also have watched all of the Angry
Video Game Nerd
videos. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh man.
James Ralph.
I like him a lot.
He's pretty good. He's at like 40 something now.
Really? I watch all his new videos when he makes them.
I watch them occasionally. I'm curious how old he is.
I would have thought he was in his 30s, but...
Oh, never mind. I am crazy. He's 38 years old.
There you go.
Ugh, my face is so weird. But, yeah. So I cannot see someone playing something that is unenjoyable, but I could see someone playing something that is not fun and taking enjoyment out of other aspects, like we were talking about. Like, there's a game I'm playing right now, which is Sunset Overdrive, which is like someone just wrote the idea fun in huge bloody crayons on the design document and then crumpled it and threw it out the window into the design team that was working in a dumpster downstairs. And then they put it together while drinking energy drink and listening to, I don't know, music. That was falling apart near the end. But it's a game where you're in an open world where you can bounce off of the tops of bushes and overturn cars so you can grind on power lines. And you can dash in the air and run across water to shoot. Like, the first weapon you get is a weapon that just shoots records that bounce around and hit people. And it's fun. It's just over-the-top goofiness. Like, it doesn't try to challenge you emotionally or anything.
Yeah.
In stark contrast to a game like The Last of Us, which is just heavy for almost the entire time you're playing it. So
it's one I know I need to play at some point.
Yes, for sure. Wait, did you not just get it with your PlayStation? Oh,
I don't think so.
Just so many like versions of PlayStation that I saw sold just included that just digitally.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't think mine came with anything.
See, because that is a game that fits also back in our other topic does difficulty really well. Its highest difficulty is relentless. But its game mechanics work so well that it's just like, oh, all the time. Where you get to a checkpoint, you have to put the controller down and just exhale, because it's like, I have one bullet and then like I have a fun-sized Snickers, and that's all I have to get through these next 8 dudes and a monster. But then you do it, and then you climax. And it feels great.
Yeah.
So
if your game can make you climax, then what more can you ask for?
I don't know. Man, those SOM things are weird.
The what?
SOM, it's the peripheral you plug in that just like it fits on your dick. And it just jerks you off in VR.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Well, now you do.
Now I do.
It's the future. Eventually, we're just going to submerge ourselves into like baths while we're playing games. And little like tendrils are going to come out and just touch our body everywhere, depending on like what's happening.
It'll take some getting used to, but I'll go play bath video game that feels super realistic if it's fun.
Getting slightly off topic, did you ever see the weird peripheral that would draw blood from you every time you got shot in a video game?
I don't believe I did.
Okay, it was... It's a notorious Kickstarter thing because it met its goal. And what it was originally set up, like, they were like, it's to, like, help with blood drives and stuff. But it was just this device that you just hooked it up to your vein, and then anytime, like, they showed it off with, like, Call of Duty or Battlefield, one of those big shooters, anytime your character got shot, it just pulled a small amount of blood out of your body.
That sounds horrifically unsafe.
And that's why Kickstarter went, you have to take this off and give everyone back their money.
Yeah.
And they were like, no. But it's... I don't know.
What a terrible, terrible idea for a peripheral.
Like, it made, like, $100,000, I think. Like, it made its Kickstarter goal.
I don't understand how. How are there that many people who are like, yeah, I think I do want a thing that draws my blood when I get shot in a video game.
The best part is then, like, someone came in to do a test, and they're like, but what if I do this? And they, like, hooked it not up to a person, but to, like, a thing that had liquid into it, and then had the dude, like, get blown up in a certain way, and the machine didn't stop pulling blood out of the thing. Like, it wasn't, because it wasn't built by doctors, it was built by, like, I think, like, an engineer or something. I don't know. But it was just like, this would kill you. Yeah,
that's just such a terrible idea.
But it could be fun though, Robert. Think about it. Like, you're struggling the same way your guy's struggling. You can't keep your eyes open because you're low on blood. And
is that fun?
It might not be fun, but it could be enjoyable later because you're like, I'm in the moment. I'm in Stalingrad, covered in corpses. But people are dumb. I mean, they have those haptic feedback vests you can wear that, like, thump you really hard when you get shot.
Yeah.
To the point they bruise you.
Yeah, I don't want that either. Some people...
People are
You know
weird.
what, though? You know what, though? If that's your thing, more power to you. I'm glad that that exists for you, if that's what you want in your life. It's not what I want in my life, though.
Nope. Man.
I want the machine that, like, gives me a gentle head pat when I get shot in the game so that I feel less bad.
But then wouldn't that, like, kind of, like, Pavlov you into, like, man, I want to get shot because then I get sweet senpai head pats.
I mean, maybe. I don't know if it's, like, that good of a head pat. It's just, like, a nice gentle...
Do you just
You're
want
okay.
a VR peripheral that while you're playing Nier Automata, you can just look over and 2B will just be right there and be like, you're doing okay, don't give up.
I wouldn't say no to that peripheral.
Well, I don't know how much more I have to say about this sort of topic, because...
Yeah, we came in from, I think, literally the same perspective.
Which will happen sometimes, because I don't want to, like, force arguments, like, this isn't debate team,
Yeah.
because it's more fun when it's genuine. But...
I felt so bad when you, like, mentioned the topic, and I was just saying, like, yes to the topic, but you thought I was agreeing with the question.
Yes, I was
And,
like, I was so ready to, like, argue about it and be like, no, what about this, though? And you're just like, no, I also feel that way. And I'm just like, damn it, we're friends and we feel the same way about things.
Yep.
All right,
Tough
but
life.
we can start talking about what we want to do for next time.
Yeah, I had some thoughts.
All right, what about the movie?
So, would you be interested in watching The Ballad of Buster Scruggs for next podcast?
Why does that sound really familiar?
It's a Coen Brothers movie that they made for Netflix, where it's like a series of vignettes. It's really good. I've seen it once. Yeah, it's like a Netflix original, Coen Brothers, so you know it's at least Coen Brothers quality.
Wait a minute, is this the one where James Franco, like, he turns to a dude and he's like, first time, huh? And they're getting, like, he's on, like, the...
I think so, yeah.
I wondered where that came from. Yep, okay.
You're in?
Yeah, I'm up for watching that. Is it still on?
Cowboy movie?
Sure.
Yeah, it's a Netflix original, so it should be there forever.
Okay.
Awesome. I'm excited to talk about this movie with you.
Is it like a normal movie? Like, is it just like it's...
It's a series of vignettes.
But it's like a single movie. It's not going to be like, I'm not watching a
it's
full
one
show.
movie.
Okay.
It's a normal length movie.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, I did not book you in for like a 10-hour marathon of...
That's why I was like, do I need to go watch it right now? Like, get started on it?
No, you're good.
Okay. I'm up for watching that. I haven't seen a good Western in a while. I still
Awesome,
keep meaning
yeah.
to watch True Grit, the new one. I haven't seen that one yet. That's the only Western I haven't seen. Have you seen Bone Tomahawk? That seems like a you movie.
I haven't seen it, but one of my favorite review podcasts talked about it quite a bit. I'm interested, but also hesitant because it sounds like, I don't know, my tolerance for like torture, hyperviolence has gone way down over the years. So I just like, I don't know. I would definitely watch it if we wanted to talk about it. But like on my own, I'd have to be in the right mood where I'm like, you know what? I think I can tolerate watching some guy get horrifically ripped apart today.
It's one of those days.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
Awesome. I'm excited.
And then for the game thing...
Okay, I had two ideas. I'm absolutely not married to either of them.
All right.
And if you have better ideas, I'd love to hear them. But so one idea that I had, the question would be, do spoilers actually matter?
I am worried about that one only because I don't know how...
Because we might have to spoil a lot of things to talk about it.
Yep.
And I already fucked up some things today. That's fair.
Because I remember we... okay, so that's one to think about. What's your other one?
So my other one was a pretty like easy, more fun one, which would just be like, uh, what games have your favorite soundtracks. So you just like make a list of game soundtracks that you loved, and we'd talk for 40 minutes and be like, "Oh yeah, I played that one. That was great."
Oh man, I would not do good in that one because soundtracks for me are not like I can't think of that many.
Yeah.
That's not.
Oh man, I have like so many.
I bet you
like.
do.
That's like the music that I listen to more than anything else is video game soundtracks. So I like.
At best, there's a few
soundtrack
times where music is playing in the game where I'm like, this is really great. But aside from that, I don't really listen to game soundtracks. Like,
all right, fair enough.
We talked last time. A proposed topic would be like, talking about our worst habits in playing video games.
It could be fun. I would talk about that.
Well, you want to do that with Buster Scruggs?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, cool. Well, this was a little bit shorter than last time, but that's fine. Will has to go to bed because he has sleepy boy work.
Yeah.
A stretch. Oh, my bones. And I'm all out of butterbeer.
Oh, man.
That was my last one.
I never had any to begin with.
Hey, when you go to the store, just go to the soft drink. I was like, what is the word of liquid you put in your mouth? I'm having
that does mean that in my future I get to have the first butterbeer that I've ever had.
That's true.
I'm looking forward to that experience.
I mean, it's really just cold, fizzy butterscotch. That's just kind of like, that's what it tastes like.
I still want that.
It's good. But I more than that, I would recommend trying Virgil's root beer and cream soda.
Okay, yeah.
Both of those were better than the butterbeer I had.
Oh yeah, the cream soda is like a 100%. I'll have to like limit myself because I don't know, like I know soda's not good for me.
Because it's just really 4 bottles, so.
Yeah, that's good.
But
yeah, right. I'll give that a shot.
Nice.
I love cream soda.
And if a Virgil's CEO or executive is watching, we're open to sponsoring the podcast. Yeah. We'll do some ad reads.
You know what? If you don't sponsor us within the next 5 episodes, we're coming for you. So.
Uh-oh. I guess that's happening.
You gotta start your sponsor beefs early. Because once you start beefing with sponsors, then the other sponsors are like, oh, they've got sponsor beef. Maybe they're worth sponsoring.
Because of all that beef.
Yep.
All right. Well, I had fun.
I did too. It's been a good time.
And so tomorrow will be more Dark Souls, and then Thursday, yes, and then more Fallout with Will, and then Saturday will be Rocket League with everybody.
That'll be a good time.
I'm excited. I haven't played that in a while, and I remember that I liked it. So hopefully you guys will stop by. I think it's really just us, and I think everyone else is gone. But thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.